Excuse me.
Yeah. Almost November.
Okay, here we go. Welcome in, everybody. Welcome in to Bleeding Purple, a podcast about the Minnesota Vikings. My name is Tyler Haig. I am joined, as always, by Mr. Adam Patrick. Hello, good sir.
Hello.
Yes, all right. Settings working, everything working.
All right, that's good.
So, I'm not sure if you knew this, Adam, but the Vikings lost. They played the Saints recently. It was
in the playoffs, right?
No, it was more recently than that.
Oh.
You know what? Actually, now that you bring that up, I'd rather talk about that game with the miracle at the end of it than the one we're about to talk about.
Yeah.
Because
last six quarters against the Saints haven't been that great.
Not so awesome. Not so awesome. But I will say this. Well, here, a quick review for those who I'm sure everybody knows. But Vikings lose by 10 points. It felt like a lot more than 10 points. Let's talk about that for a hot minute.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins winds up with some statistics that make him look pretty good. I shouldn't say majority because that would be inaccurate, but a lot of those yards came after this game was decided AF. Would you disagree with that?
I think he played really well in the first half.
Don't disagree with that. I thought he played pretty well the whole game, to be perfectly honest.
Yeah, I do too. I don't even blame him for the pick six.
Mm-mm.
So
not his fault.
There's a couple of times when he's in the pocket and stuff, and that weird fumble that wasn't a fumble.
Yeah, that's a bummer.
Where you're just like, throw the ball away, or just move in the pocket, do something. But we're getting used to the fact that his pocket presence is not that great right now. It could get better.
Yeah.
Probably not. But I had no problem with the way Kirk Cousins played last night. I think he played better than probably he's played in the last couple weeks against the Cardinals and Jets.
Yeah.
And the Vikings were just like tearing apart the Saints secondary for the first half at least, and then in the second half I don't know. It seemed like they're running more underneath kind of routes, drag routes, not so much stuff downfield where they were having success with earlier in the game. I don't know. The person I wasn't impressed the most with is John DeFilippo.
That's a great point, actually. Of all of the things to be upset about as a Vikings fan today, I think that should be number one on your list. Should be that dude. Not that he was horrible, because he wasn't horrible, but if you're going to play the blame game and whose fault was it, I think that's a great place to start.
Mike Zimmer's a close second on that list.
Think so? Interesting. Yes. Interesting. Why? What makes you say that?
Well, first off, the second half, the 30 seconds left, there was the fumble or whatever, and the Saints scored. But you get the ball back with 30 seconds left. You have 2 timeouts. You're down by 4 at that point.
Mm-hmm.
You got Dan Bailey, who's pretty good. It's indoors. Try and get at least maybe a 50-yard field goal or something. You got 2 timeouts. You're tearing up the Saints defense in the air all half long. And you decide to just kneel the ball and go in the locker room. And then the first possession in the second half, they're on their own 45-yard line, and they go for it on 4th and 1.
I was not a fan of that call. Easy to second guess after the fact. I understand that, yes. But I was not. I didn't feel like that was the right time to push it. I think with that score in that kind of a game, you punt it, you try and play defense, which, by the way, they had done very, very well the whole game. Drew Brees finished with 120 yards passing.
Yes. You give them a long field, even if it's a touchback, they still get the ball on the 25-yard line. They have to go a long field for Drew Brees and whatever the Saints offense, who you've been playing well against all night long.
Yes, I just don't understand why
instead you give them a short field.
Yes,
and they drive 20 yards and they get a field goal.
Because of course they do.
And then the next possession is the pick six.
Yeah, at that point in the game, I was very frustrated with that call. I feel like you have to you have to play the field position game for a little bit. Yeah, and then it was the pick six, and the game was over after that.
Those three possessions, that's the game right there.
Mm-hmm. You kind of touched on it a little bit, and I wanted to discuss it maybe a little bit at length. The turning point in this game obviously was late in the first half, Vikings driving, Thielen catches the ball, fumbles on like heading into the end zone, basically. I think it was the 14-yard line, but
yeah,
the Vikings are most likely getting points there, probably a touchdown. That would have made the score 20-10 at that point heading into halftime. Instead, fumble, score 17-13 going into the half. Obviously, that's a huge swing just point-wise and like momentum-wise, but it felt to me, and like I don't usually like using the term swag, Adam. It's not a thing I use. It's not something I say frequently. That play happened, swag gone. There was no attitude. There was no, there was no thing.
It kind of sound like the crowd was out of the game after that too.
It did, but I think it was more of a players thing.
I would even say the 4th and 1 play was more of a turning point than the Thielen fumble, because you have the Thielen fumble and you combine that with not converting on 4th down, and then your whole sideline, instead of being down by 4 points, just 4 points.
Yes.
And then, giving your defense, another chance on the field to make a play or stop the Saints and build up some more confidence. You go for it on 4th down and you fail.
Yes.
And then more errors taken out of the team. So I think that the 4th and 1 is probably more of a turning point than the Thielen fumble.
You make a good point, because there's always, with the Thielen fumble, there's recovery time. The game is not even close to over after that.
No.
Like, it's a bummer, and it was unfortunate.
And you're playing well.
Yes, and the defense is playing great at that point. And whatever, by the way, if here, maybe we should bring it up like this. 120 yards for Drew Brees. Do you think that's because they were operating on short fields the majority of the time, or do you think that's because the Vikings had it looked like they were taking away the deep ball.
Yeah, they were.
Yeah, and letting them do the dink and dunk thing.
They pretty much, everyone's like, oh, they hardly got any pressure on Drew Brees. But I'm pretty sure that was the plan. Like, they know they're probably not going to get pressure on Drew Brees, so why are you even going to try, have guys stand back there and cover? And they did a pretty good job with not allowing yards after the catch, tackling guys right away.
Mm-hmm. Because at that point, what are all you're doing when you're trying to pressure Drew Brees at this point in his career? You're just taking a guy out of coverage, because you're never going to get there.
The one time they did get pressure, they got an interception, and it worked out. And I think that was a 3rd down play. So 3rd down, they're probably going to have more opportunity to bring pressure, but it's different bringing pressure against a rookie quarterback than a guy like Drew Brees who can see what's coming and just know to either just get rid of the ball to no one or just find a guy who's going to be open. But props to the Saints defense. They made plays.
Yes.
They got the Thielen fumble and almost returned that for a touchdown, and they got the pick six and returned that for a touchdown. So they took advantage of the opportunities that the Vikings gave them. So that's on them.
100%. And the thing that is starting to bother me as we digest this game a little bit more and kind of see more people reacting to it, the idea that this will either A, make or break your season is garbage, and B, that this will either make or Kirk Cousins is a bust all of a sudden, he's not worth it.
Yeah, I have a big problem with that today.
I can't handle that. First of all, let me rant on this for a little bit. Kirk Cousins.
You first.
Kirk Cousins was not going to turn into Tom Brady or Aaron Rodgers because you gave him a lot of money. That is not the guy that he is going to be. So get that out of your head right now. If you are listening to this and you are thinking that he could maybe be that someday, he cannot. And that is okay, because they could still get to where they want to go.
Actually, one day he could. This is his 4th year as a starter. So, and he's not even 30 yet.
I just think to use that as an expectation is crazy.
Yeah,
right now.
Right now.
Get it out. Yes.
This season with a new team, a new offensive coordinator. Yeah.
The Vikings paid that amount of money to Kirk Cousins because he was the best available option as a long-term guy. Yeah. That's all they wanted. So the idea that because they paid him this money, Kirk Cousins is now going to lead this team to victory, like, he's good. He is going to win them a lot of games. He's going to put up a lot of points. He's going to put up a lot of yards. He is not, to me, part of the problem right now.
No.
I think to assume that he is part of the problem because he's not like Aaron Rodgers willing them to like victories.
By the way, the Packers
ridiculous.
are 3-3-1 this year with Aaron Rodgers.
Don't even get me started on that part of the argument. But it pains me that this is the expectation.
Well, the people that are blaming Cousins don't take it into account, all the injuries the Vikings have had. They had 5 starters out last night, 3 on defense, which the defense still played great.
Yeah.
Their offensive line is decimated. They lost Nick Easton before the season even started. They lost their offensive line coach before training camp even began.
We don't talk about this enough, but that has to be a factor in the season.
This year, he's had more pressure in his face than any year as a starter. Any year. And he's still putting up great numbers.
Obscene numbers.
When you have pressure in your face that much, you're going to make mistakes. It doesn't matter if you're Tom Brady, if you're Drew Brees, or if you're Aaron Rodgers.
He is putting up better numbers statistically than Drew Brees on before this game. Well, yeah, and of course after, because Drew Brees only had 120 yards. But yeah, he's got more yards. He's got more yards per game. He's got more. I think the only thing he was not leading, the only category was the interceptions, because Drew Brees had not thrown one yet.
He's also, like I mentioned earlier, he's also this is his 4th year as a starter, in the NFL. He's in a new team and a new system with an offensive coordinator who's not experienced at all. The guys like Tom Brady in his first 4 years as a starter, he had one of the best defenses, and he had the same offensive system. Aaron Rodgers was in the same offensive system. He sat on the bench for 3 years in the same offensive system.
Yes.
These guys had that luxury. Cousins is coming into a totally new situation. How's Case Keenum doing in his, new situation this year, with a new team and a new offense? Oh, wait, he has 10 interceptions. That's right.
He's not doing so hot. He's not doing so hot. Let's not pick on Chase, but I mean, I hear what you're saying.
But the fact, I think we're both probably talking about an article that was written today by Bleacher Report by Mike Freeman, who called Kirk Cousins a flop 8 games into the season. There's half a season left, and the Vikings have a winning record.
Are still still have a shot at winning the division. We're right here. So
And he went at Olive Garden again. Yeah. What is with people going at Olive Garden?
It's a wonderful establishment, and their breadsticks are perfect.
What did they ever do to anyone besides give you unlimited breadsticks, unlimited salad, free refill?
What else do you want from Olive Garden?
Yeah, they give you straws.
Whatever you want. Oh my God! Yeah, man, the Olive Garden thing. I think it's too far. I think we need to leave Olive Garden alone.
Find a new restaurant. No, Applebee's sucks.
Yes.
Yeah, that comparison. Yeah, they microwave all their food.
I like Olive Garden. Yes. So the idea that Kirk Cousins is a bust after this amount, I mean, he's exactly what he's supposed to be.
That's a dumb argument. You just look and sound dumb by saying that. I don't care if you're a national NFL writer or whatever.
Yeah. But I do think that there are a fair amount of people who believe that, and I feel like the issue is not necessarily I think that it's the expectations. Like, what did you expect Kirk Cousins, dude from Bleacher Report who wrote that article, what did you expect him to be after he signed that contract? Did you expect him to be a top 5 in the NFL?
I think it's all the people that don't think he's worth that kind of money, and every chance they get to say "I told you so," They just want to do it, which is not this game. This game was not Kirk Cousins' fault that they lost. Adam Thielen fumbled. Stephon Diggs stopped on his route.
Your 2 best players made 2 of the worst plays in the game. And
the offensive line gave up 20 pressures again.
Yeah. So after all of this, after discussing all these things, how Kirk Cousins looked, how the offensive line looked, the defense is, I mean, even with the injuries, looked pretty good. I thought Holton Hill was two thumbs up, man. Like, I was so impressed.
How it would have been if the Saints would have tried to go like farther downfield, but I guess that wasn't really open for them. So that's props to the Mike Zimmer and the defense for taking that away.
But the Vikings are still right where they want to be at this point in the season. I mean, yes, you would like to have a win against Buffalo, but aside from that game, I think this is basically... Yes,
anyone surprised that they lost?
No, man. That's a good football team that they played. And yes, they turned the ball over twice, gave them 10 points, and lost. It happens. It's football.
They played better than the Saints. The Saints had one loss, and they played better than the Saints had one person out for injury, like a backup offensive lineman or defensive lineman.
I saw that. I laughed at their injury report.
And the Vikings pretty much outplayed them on every level. I really feel like the Vikings beat themselves more than like the Saints. The Saints beat the Vikings. I'm pretty sure,
I would completely agree with that. I would completely agree with them beating themselves. And at the end of the day, I mean, if you take the Buffalo game out because that was ridiculous, any of the games that they have lost, that is basically what has happened. It was
turnovers.
Yeah, turnovers, but I want to say it was a mistake in a critical time where you needed to make a play. You didn't make a play. You turn the ball over. You lose. In the NFL, that is the difference between winning a Super Bowl and not winning a Super Bowl is making those plays. And so is anybody surprised we're here?
Yeah.
Come on.
No. There's an even more common factor for all their losses this year has been the awful play of the offensive line.
Yes.
But I don't really blame a lot of those guys because a lot of the guys in there are backups because of injuries or whatever, or not signing guys in the offseason,
to address that. Do you think? Let's talk about that for a little bit.
In the first round, I don't like that argument because Mike Hughes is a good pick and he's going to be a good player. But
yes,
at that time when you have needs that are very glaring and you just signed a franchise quarterback, you got to protect him, and that has not been the case this year. And every one of their losses against Buffalo, they didn't protect him. What happened? Cousins turns the ball over a bunch because he's under pressure like every single play. The Rams game, same thing. Aaron Donald and Ndamukong Suh are in his face all day long, and he gets a strip sack on drive. They're trying to tie the game, strip sack because of pressure from the offensive line.
Yes,
this game last night,
pick six, 100% because of the pressure.
Yeah, you take sacks and you almost fumble the ball, and it's just the offensive line. And there's ways to make it less of a factor, but once again, going back to John DeFilippo, he's not putting them in situations to do that. Not running the ball enough when you're succeeding at running the ball. Mm-hmm. Like Latavius Murray was doing well last night, but let's not give him the ball on 4th and 1.
Yeah, I think is where that, because I feel like DeFilippo they're moving the ball well, and it's evident from if you look at Cousins' stats and Thielen's streak, and they're productive. He's not horrible. He's not like, let's fire this guy and move on to somebody else bad. I just want people to understand that that's not the argument here. The argument is that why are you going away from things that had been working? Why are you not doing things to help alleviate some of the pressure that is facing your offensive line? Why are you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah. That to me, at the end of the day, at the end of the game, was the most perplexing part. Because the loss and the way it happened and blah, 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 that totally fine. Because that's Adam Thielen's a great player. Yeah. Sometimes he's going to have fumbles. Sometimes those fumbles are going to get returned. If that's right, that's a huge point in the game. That happens. That's football. Yeah, that's not that's not like a burn it all down. Like this is garbage now. Yeah. It's football. That happens. But
I looked it up today where on third downs this year, the Vikings have passed 90% of the time on third downs. I wonder what the defense thinks they're going to do.
Yeah.
There's two teams in the NFL that are passing 90% or more on third downs this year. The Vikings and the Giants. The Giants have one win. The 5 teams that are throwing the least on third down this year are the Patriots, the
Good
Saints,
team.
the Panthers, the Rams,
yes.
and the Bears.
Dude, can we talk a little bit, just quick sidebar, about how wrong I was about Carolina and Norv and every week.
I wouldn't give all the credit to Norv. I think he's probably got some other people in his head or in the booth, like being like, "Hey, you got Cam Newton. You can't just make him into a drop back quarterback."
I was so confident that they were going to be a non-factor this season, and I could not have been more wrong. So I'm going to talk about it until they disappear from my consciousness.
They're kind of like every other year team, though. I feel like
that
every
is
other
true. They are. Yes,
they're like, let's play bad and get a horrible schedule, and then we'll play good. And then the next year we have a first place schedule. Oh, we're not that good.
100%. Back to DiFilippo and the kind of, I guess, the state of the offense in general. Another thing that people tend to forget about. You talked about Kirk Cousins, and he's only been a starter for 4 years, and he's however many 8-7 games into this year, new coordinator, new team, new blah, 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 all of these things.
Cut him.
Get rid of him. It's garbage, guaranteed money, doesn't matter.
Just eat that dead money.
Eat it. Go find somebody else. Get a young guy. I like that Lauletta from. He's in New York right now, but I bet you could call Shermer. He'd do you a favor. Bring him on in.
They don't need a quarterback.
Mm-mm. Yeah, they won't be needing him, so that won't be an issue. Do you think it's possible for that offense? I mean, it's obvious that we haven't seen them at their best yet. I think that's a fair statement. Even though we haven't seen them at their best, they still are capable of putting up a poop load of points and a poop load of yards, and they can move the ball, and they can stay in games that they maybe shouldn't be staying in. Is there a chance that this offense, by the end of this season, could get to a point where that's truly a serious weapon for this team?
No, I mean, they're putting points and yards or whatever on the board, all of this without Dalvin Cook.
Mm-hmm.
So you get him back, which it doesn't look like he's probably going to come back next week. I don't know. He said that, sitting out of practice was probably the best idea for last week.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't expect him back next week. Probably just wait until after the bye just to be safe. And then you get him back and put him in the offense with, Thielen and Diggs and Rudolph. And you figure some stuff out with them, and you get on, maybe a nice little win streak at the end of the year. I think their last 3 games are the Dolphins, Lions, and Bears. So you get on
every ounce of my energy to not say "oh my" just now.
Just get on. They have the potential to heat up at the end of the year.
Definitely.
I think you'd rather have more success during the course of the year, but we've seen teams get hot going into the playoffs before and it come out well. Like the Ravens and stuff like that a couple of years ago.
Yes.
Even in the Giants, one of their Super Bowl years when they beat the Patriots. They just got to figure out how to run the ball more.
Or continue to run the ball. Because I thought Murray has been playing really well.
And it just helps everything out. It just helps you out in everything. It puts the defense, it makes them respect, your play action pass and stuff like that. And it helps out your offensive line and not, getting destroyed. There was a number of times last night where the Vikings had an empty backfield or just 5 guys blocking on the line. They obviously can't do that.
No, they cannot. Their offensive line is not capable of doing that. And I'd assume that the hope is that when you spread a team out, they feel like they have to do that. But if I was a defensive coordinator and I saw them with no one in their backfield, I would send everybody because there's no way they can handle even 1 or 2 blitzers. There's no way they can handle it.
No.
I had something about the offensive line, but I can't remember it now.
Hey, one more thing about Cousins. Why doesn't anyone mention his toughness? He's been getting killed back there this year, and he hasn't had one injury.
Oh my God! Knock on wood. What are you doing, Adam?
His knee's about to explode in practice.
Come on, bud. What? Why would you do that? Shame on you. Shame on you. Yes. I remember. I remember what I was going to say now. So playoff stuff. Yeah. Vikings are in good shape. Here's the way I've been looking at it. Although it feels like And it does feel like there's some separation happening between the upper echelon teams in the NFC and the rest of the pack, Vikings being rest of the pack area. They would have to beat New Orleans. They would have to beat Rams. I wanted to say St. Louis. I knew that wasn't
maybe
correct.
We don't know. Maybe one of those teams loses their quarterback or their running back.
Exactly. But those would be, at this point, the two most fearsome teams in the NFC.
And
right? Those would be. They were right there for both of those games. Totally. Are very capable of winning both of those games. And it doesn't matter if it's in New Orleans or I think they're very capable of going into either of those places.
Especially if they play the Rams. They could just bring all their fans and they would have like a home game.
So the idea that this season is just like turning into some like dumpster fire.
Did we talk about this last week? Did we talk about this last week? How like this week we're like, oh, happy, and then like next week the sky's going to be falling again.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah, we did. We predict a lot of things on this show.
Why can't we like see that there's a whole half of a season left? Why can't people just like understand that there's so much left to this season?
And not only that, but what you're looking at is not that bad, man.
Like a half game behind first place.
But even the performance in that game yesterday, for somebody to say that was like a bottom of the barrel performance. I mean, they didn't even play poorly in that game. They happened to lose the game. It happened to be by a fair amount because of the circumstances. But they didn't. That wasn't like a Buffalo. That wasn't lay an egg at home. No, that wasn't we're not showing up for this game. That's just we lost a tough game to a good team.
I think I might have, made this obvious before, but I would blame the coaching more than I would the players for last night's loss.
Speaking of coaches and taking blame, let's discuss Zimmer and his like clock management stuff, and especially, I mean, you talked about it a little bit. You touched on it for a moment, but you get the ball back. There's 30 seconds. You have 2 timeouts. It's not the end of the world. It felt like the end of the world. They take a knee, tail between the legs, go to halftime. You disagree with that decision? Obviously.
I mean, you have 2 timeouts. Like, if you throw down the field and you feel like you're not going to get anything, that's fine. But, you have 30 seconds. I just don't understand why he did that. Like, especially the way that they were playing against the Saints defense. It's not like the Saints were like stopping them.
That argument, that argument I can understand. But like, why didn't you do that? But if I can totally put myself in Mike Zimmer's shoes.
I know they had the ball first in the second half.
Yeah,
that probably played a big part.
I'm sure that played a part in it. And then I would think if you're doing we got 30 seconds left. It's obvious we're going to pass. Now we get back to looking at that offensive line. And
it's obviously going to pass every time.
Well, that's true. Yeah, that's a good point. And you've been in pass-only mode for how many minutes already? Because there was no way they were running the ball. What happened?
But they couldn't stop Thielen or Diggs anyways.
Mm-hmm. So, I get it.
Thielen's going to get the ball or Diggs is going to get the ball. Great. You haven't been able to stop them since.
Exactly. And you knew that before you came out here. Before they got on the plane to go to Minneapolis, they knew Diggs and Thielen were going to get the ball. And they knew they probably weren't going to run as much as most teams.
Like, you probably could have got caught. And you could throw the ball over the middle, too. Like, you had the whole field to work with because you had 2 timeouts.
Yes. And realistically there, you make a couple of passes, you get into field goal range, you make a field goal. Now it's 16-17 going into halftime. You feel great. Crowd's back into it. You get the ball coming out of halftime. I mean, I hear what you're saying.
The Vikings have done this to the Saints before. How many seconds were on the clock when they got the ball in the playoff game to win the game?
Well,
it was like 45 seconds?
Not everybody has the magic that Chase has. So I don't think it's fair to compare the two.
That was definitely him. That was all him.
Yeah.
Well, it wasn't Diggs who ran.
Also, we haven't discussed it yet, but let's talk a little bit about Laquan and A, his performance throughout the game, and B, where are you at with him at this point?
I'd rather let's see what Brandon Zylstra can do.
Take a seat, bub.
I don't really see any benefit of him being on the field. I don't care if he's catching 3 passes a game. Wow, great for 20 yards. Woo.
is exactly where I'm at. At this point, whatever you thought of his upside doesn't matter anymore, and you could get that same production from somebody who isn't a total walking disaster. Yes, and at this point, I'm not even saying it's like, I mean, yeah, throwing your helmet out of the ground is your fault, but this is like, now you're on some next level stuff. Laquan Treadwell is. Like, it's bad things are going to happen to him when he's on the field now. He will drop more passes. He will be responsible for more stupid penalties. He will be the reason, like, you got to get him out of there.
I would rather have Aldrick Robinson get more snaps on the field than Treadwell. And they're like, oh, he's good in the run game. Well, that'd be great if you ran the ball, but you don't.
Well, and act like that's a good reason. That's like saying, like, well, that pitcher is the best hitter for pitchers that we have. It's like, well, it doesn't matter, dude. Like, that's not what we're basing our decisions on. He is bad at catching the football, and he's a liability when he's out there.
Just Rick Spielman just trying to save his ass because he's a first-round pick. So he's like, oh, he'll get it. He's got a new quarterback this year, so he'll figure it out.
You know, I agree with you, and that has to be the reason that he's still there. However, in defense of Spielman and the one play that Laquan Treadwell had, I don't know if it was last week or 2 weeks ago or whatever it was, when he caught that pass and he turned and he ran a dude over and he forced his way in to get the first.
Yay, one play in 3 years.
Yes, I'm on your side, but that made okay. But it has to be over now. It has to be over. It's been too long. And you've given him more than enough.
People might get on me because I defend like Odell Beckham and stuff for like reacting crazy on the sidelines and stuff too. But he's good.
He's really good. And are those penalized plays either? Like, because Odell is freaking out, but these never is get 15.
Actually, I don't think they are. But
probably, I feel like they're not. Maybe one or two have been.
He saved it for the sideline for the locker or whatever. But he's good. He's earned that right.
Yes.
Like feeling, reacting like that way. Like he's done that in the past and stuff, like slamming his helmet. They've earned that right to react that way. Treadwell has not. You are like hanging on to your job by a thread. You cannot do that stuff. Mm-hmm. Like you don't get to do that. Like you're not cool if you slam your helmet down. You're not one of the boys if you do that.
It's like the guy on the movie Superbad, the older dude that hits him with a car in the liquor store parking lot, where Laquan Treadwell is on the phone at the party.
Oh yeah,
and Vikings fans are like, "What are you doing here? Why are you out here, Laquan? I thought we told you not to be here, bro." Yeah. It drives me crazy because at this point I almost like have turned a corner now where I'm not even like upset that he's out there. I'm starting to like feel bad for the kid where he just like cannot get out of his own way. And I think the best thing to do for him and this football team is to not play him as many snaps.
Well, we're just haters.
So. I mean, we are.
We don't know what goes into every play and, what his job is on every play. But, why would you expect him to catch the ball on 4th and 1 anyway?
That's what I was just going to, I don't have to know what he was supposed to do if the ball hit him in the hands and he dropped it. That's all I needed to see. But, yeah, I don't know. I do feel bad. I feel bad because I feel like he's getting picked on. I feel like it's because he's not performing. He's a professional football catcher.
Like, successful Quan.
Yeah.
I think he blocked me, actually.
Ooh.
But I don't know. I have no idea why. He's probably changed his handle to like...
I have no idea why.
Somewhat successful Quans. Maybe one day successful Quan.
Mediocre Quan. Mediocre Quan. Oh.
Medium rare Quan.
Oh, poor Laquan Treadwell.
No.
It's over, man. I just can't.
Playing in the NFL, and his job is to catch balls, and he doesn't. So.
Well, he feels like the kind of guy he's going to get released. He's going to go somewhere, and he's not going to have this expectation. He's not going to have this like microscope magnifying glass on him.
I don't know. We thought that about. I feel like we kind of thought that way about Cordell Patterson, like kind of Mike Wallace.
Yeah, you're told. I definitely felt that way about Cordell Patterson. How has he
Like,
been for
oh,
New England? He hasn't done. I mean, yeah, he returned a
he's returned a kickoff, but that's what he
That's
does.
not. I was going to say that's not
But
the
he's
same.
not he's not catching deep passes from Tom Brady,
which is what I was afraid of. Yeah, I feel like there's so much talent there that it's hard for me to imagine an NFL where he can't find a job.
I don't even know if there is so much talent there because a lot of people think he was overdrafted.
And the Vikings I mean, that at this point is pretty much
well, yeah, but the Vikings. A lot of people feel like the Vikings were scrambling for, a receiver because I think they wanted Josh Dotson, and he got picked like a pick before them,
which would have been about the.
We need a receiver, and we'll just take Treadwell.
Do you think, dude, that's totally what it was? So they did that with Treadwell, and then this year when it happened, they're like, all the offensive linemen that we wanted are gone. Do we have to take a lineman here?
But they weren't.
But Mike Hughes was available.
I know, and I still feel like that was like a favor to Mike Zimmer because we're like, we signed Kirk Cousins, so you get first pick in the NFL draft, and he's like, guess who I'm going to take?
This guy.
The corner.
And the story would be so much different if he was still playing. But now it's like all of a sudden, doesn't this team yes, there's a lot of room for them to grow. No, the sky isn't falling. But doesn't all of a sudden this team feel really like inexperienced and like not? It's like last year they had kind of a like we got this, and this year there's no we got this vibe.
Well, I don't think they've put together like a complete game. I feel like, and like every time they've gone on the field, it's been a different combination of defense or offense.
That's the other thing that people aren't talking about. The defense last season was outrageously healthy the whole year. Nobody missed any time.
I think Everson Griffin, he hurt his foot that one time?
I think that was it. I think they had like one starter miss 2 games. I think it was Griffin.
And Sendejo missed a game because of suspension.
And that was it.
Yeah.
And you're not going to be able.
But that's not going to happen in real.
No, never. It's never going to happen again in the end. Like NFL, not happening. So you need.
And the defense has been good.
That's what I was just going to say. Was if nothing else, what we have learned from not only this game but from the last several games because of injuries is that defense is stacked, and even the young dudes who are kind of question marks as far as the mental part of it. I mean, those dudes they can physically hang with.
I think we've learned that the Vikings will be fine if they let Anthony Barr go next year.
Yeah, that's a great point. I didn't even put it into context.
I don't think anyone was like, if the Vikings had Anthony Barr last night, they would have been able to stop Kamara or whatever.
Dude, Kate, man, that is where are all of those people? You can't lose Barr, and that should be the first thing you're saying today. It wasn't the first thing that anybody said today.
No.
They would have just had Anthony Barr, they would have been able to win that game.
No.
Interesting, Adam. Well, where do you spend that money then? Where does that money go?
I have no idea.
Who do you spend it on?
Maybe a punter? I don't know.
Do you think there's just all-pro punter trees, Adam?
Yeah, just
NFL,
like
all-pro NFL punters just grow off of trees.
Just like all the offensive lineman trees that people think are going on right now for the trade deadline that the Vikings should. Oh, they need to find a way to add someone to the offensive line, and so that'll just right away the Vikings offensive line will be better just because you add some guy who's not playing with the team.
Those are my favorite. My favorite arguments. Well, I shouldn't even say this time of year because I love that the trade deadline is like becoming a thing now. It would be so great if in like 5 years it was like Major League Baseball where it was just dudes flying all over the country.
Yeah, I don't think it'll ever
so bummed. I don't think so either. But do you think the Vikings can make a move? Will they? Probably not. Do you think they should? And third portion of that question is even if they make a move, who the bleep are they going to bring in?
I don't think they will make a move because I feel like they probably don't think that anyone who's available, I'm talking offensive line right now, is that much better than someone they could sign off the street or off their practice squad.
Mm-hmm. And then you start weighing the other options or like, well, if we can't get an offensive lineman, can we get a different position that will put something else over the top where maybe we won't have to worry about the offensive line as much? And the answer is no. That player is not available. You're not going to be able to bring that guy in.
They don't need a receiver. They don't need tight end. They don't need a running back. They don't need a quarterback.
Don't need a linebacker.
The only thing they might consider trading for is maybe like a corner, like a slot corner or something like that.
Because you can always use one more. That's what
it's getting pretty thin back there.
Pretty thin. Lot of injuries happening there.
So that would be the one position I think they would maybe look for, but I highly, highly doubt that Rick Spielman's going to want to part ways with one of his draft picks for next year because we both know how much he loves to stack those up.
Fifth-round picks especially.
Oh, yeah, seventh, and sixth. Those are always the best.
Gotta love them.
Let's get 3 of those.
Real quick, one or the other. Do you think fantasy football is to blame for that thought process, or Madden is to blame for that process? Because it's the only thing I can think of is that people just assume that you can just find a 72 lineman, plug him in, and you'll upgrade your whole group and no problem.
I don't think it's fantasy football because you don't draft offensive linemen. So.
Yeah, but I mean the trade part of it and just being like, this guy's worth more points than that guy, and I think that's an upgrade.
Just think
so
people that don't pay attention. I just think it's people
that's a fair point.
To football, they're just like casual fans, and they only root for the team if they're good or not.
Yeah, it's pretty far fetched to think that you. I mean, we would all love for them to bring in an offensive lineman that could start for 8 years and just be the fix to the problem. But
I just don't understand. I still don't understand why they moved Mike Remmers inside to guard. I just don't understand why they did that.
It concerns me because I feel like
like he's worse.
Yeah, from what we've seen from the guys who've been playing there, it's like, what the bleep is that look like at practice where that's your best option right now? Because at the end of the day, I mean, you can disagree with whatever, and there has to be a reason that they're not putting other dudes in there, And like, God, at that point, if this is your best option, it's starting to, I know it's not as bad as this, but it's starting to feel a little bit TJ Clemmings-ish, where it's like
Rashad Hill, at least.
Yeah, man, where it just is feeling like
turnstile.
How can you not have a better option
or
an equal option? How can you not have someone else that could do the same?
Or just give them help. Stop doing empty backfield stuff. Just get Rudolph or Morgan back there, or even motion someone back there to get him in the way.
Dude,
make it difficult. Come on.
You nailed it. You effing nailed it. Question of the week this week.
They don't really do any motion, do they? To see if that's a good way to see if the defense is in man or zone.
They don't do a lot. That's not what I'm talking about, though, Adam. Question of the week is, where the bleep is David Morgan? Where was he? Where was Morgan?
Yeah.
He is, anytime they look like garbage.
He's like a 6 offensive lineman.
Where's Morgan? He's not there. Where was he in Buffalo? Hurt. Inactive.
Yep.
In Buffalo. Against Buffalo in Minneapolis. Where was he last night when they were getting their patooties kicked? I didn't see him.
No, I don't see him. He was healthy, but I didn't see him.
I'm sure he played a lot. I was just exaggerating. But I agree with you because I think there's a lot of stuff that the Vikings could do from a pre-snap standpoint that could alleviate some of the issues that they're facing on offensive line. And I mean, it could, like you said, that it could be motions. It could be bringing dudes into the backfield to help on these guys. It could be a Morgan situation. It could be more tight end stuff.
Do you think Kirk Cousins has a lot of control of pre-snap stuff? Because it doesn't look that way. If he doesn't really do a whole lot of audibles or adjusting stuff. He'll point out certain guys coming on the blitz and stuff, but it doesn't really look like he's hey, all these guys are coming. Let's not run this play.
Yeah, no, he doesn't look like he checks out of plays very often, but I don't know. I can't tell if it looks like it doesn't look like he's being told he can't do that. To me, most of the time, it looks like we don't have any time left on the play clock, so we just got to run this thing and go.
Yeah.
Which I'm sure will get better with time. And I'm not saying that that's yes or no, or yes he can or no he can't or whatever, but he doesn't seem to check out of plays often.
I mean, they run no huddle a lot, so they got a lot of play clock left when they do that. So I don't know.
Also, real quick, can we talk about no huddle, third down, quarterback sneak into what are you doing?
Drive, where there's 9 minutes left in the fourth quarter. You're down by 17. It takes you 5 minutes to score a touchdown.
Oh my God. I just couldn't. That was so obviously Kirk Cousins being like, "I got this." And you don't, dude.
It looked like he didn't really know what he wanted to do when he did that. Like he was turning around, like, "Oh, here we go."
Yeah. Well, it was like he was like, "We're gonna catch him off guard," and then he got up there and was like, "They're not off guard at all."
Oh yeah, quarterback sneak on the 1 yard line. You caught him off guard.
No, and then he was and then all of a sudden he was there and he's like, "Well, I can't really call a timeout. Like I can't stop."
And then they got in the huddle.
That is okay. Oh yes, God, I'm so glad we're talking about this. This is something I want to bring up as I get it from a criticism of Kirk Cousins' standpoint. Oh my God, his clock management at the end of those drives, you gotta clock it, you gotta call a timeout, you gotta stop the clock, and he will try and direct traffic, and he will take 15 seconds off.
Just clock it, and then you can do that for
40 seconds if you want. You could do that.
Oh, don't waste 35. Figuring out what to do.
That was when you sent me when you sent me the text about the Zimmer and the clock thing. That was the first thing that popped into my head, and I was like, I'd blame Cousins for that too. I'd be like, that's not my fault. I can't be out there telling him what to do. But you made a good point with the having enough time, 2 timeouts. I agree with you because that literally with the way the rules are now and the way these wide receivers operate, that's 2 passes and you're in field goal range.
Yeah,
I think it's ridiculous to not take a shot there.
Zimmer needs to take all the blame, but he was asked by Arif last night in the presser. Yeah, in the presser. What do you think has been wrong with the clock management at the end of halves and stuff like that? And Zimmer was like, I don't think there's been anything wrong. I think you're absolutely wrong to think that we've had bad clock management this year. And Arif was just like, oh, okay,
right, got you. Thanks, Mike.
Yeah,
man, it drives me crazy because little stuff like that, and I think maybe that is.
He could have just been like, yeah, that's something we got to work on. Obviously, we could be better at it. But he was like, no, I don't think we're bad at it at all. And then like, oh, really? What are you watching?
For real. What end of the halves are you paying attention to? Because the ones we're paying attention to, it looks awful.
Can the Vikings hire a clock guy? Because I feel like I think the Rams have a guy who just worries about the clock. And I really think that would be a great, great, great hire for the Vikings to get someone like that. Because Mike Zimmer has... And every year I feel like we go through this. His clock management at the end of games, not the greatest.
No, not the greatest. And you could place a lot of blame earlier on because he's got quarterbacks who are either young or Chase Keenum or...
What was that game against the Lions? 2 years ago? And when they went ahead with a field goal and they left a minute on the clock and then the Lions tied it and then won in overtime.
Oh yeah, that was the Golden Tate flipping into the end zone at the end of that game. Yeah, I mean, to me that is that's the difference between guys like Aaron Rodgers and guys like Tom Brady and then dudes like Kirk Cousins is the inability to orchestrate, because Kirk Cousins is there, you can tell he knows what he's doing, you can tell he knows what he wants the guys to do, but there's a second gear that he's not getting to with speed and decision making on whether to clock that or tell him what to do or whatever, And
a lot of those guys, Rodgers and Brees or whatever, have a guy in their offense, a receiver who they pretty much know if they're in a hurry up or 2 minute, they know where to go. Even if you give them a certain look, just from your eyes or whatever, they can tell where he wants the ball.
Yeah.
And I don't think as much as Thielen and Cousins or even Diggs and Cousins have, built up their chemistry, they're not there yet.
No, they're definitely not. And I think it'll get better as the season progresses. But, I don't know. I'll say it again, but I think to assume that Kirk Cousins is going to get, or to expect him to get to an Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady level is
right now.
Much.
There's no, I still believe that he has the skills to do that. We're raving about, Drew Brees and Tom Brady now, and they're pushing. Brady's over 40. Yeah. Brees is 39.
Oh, dude, that's a great point. And he's young.
Kirk
He's got a lot of
Cousins
time to. And guess what else?
29.
They're changing the rules so that dudes can play longer because you're not going to get your head chopped off when you go over the middle, or as a quarterback, get your head slammed into the ground.
And over the years, those teams have learned like, hey, we need to get people like on the offensive line to protect these guys.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking, the Vikings, maybe they'll figure that out.
Do you think they're one decent draft away from being a really good offensive line, or do you think they got it like?
I think that they need the entire offseason, like free agency and the draft. I'm not really a big fan of taking offensive linemen in the draft unless they're like in the first couple picks, because it's just such a crapshoot. Like you don't know. Like you'll get guys that are good, and then you'll get guys that suck, like Matt Khalil.
Yep.
And then you'll get somebody like the third round, like Pat Elflein, who's probably looks like a 10-year starter right now.
100%.
So and then guys coming out of college like these days, they're used to playing a spread offense.
Oh,
they're not
so
used
much different. What you're asking your linemen to do is so much different in college.
I would much rather have the Vikings go after guys in free agency that have experience in the NFL, that have a track record. You like when they signed Riley Reif and Mike Remmers, I was much happier with them doing that than going after guys in the draft.
Was that
especially with Spielman's track record in the draft?
Yes, dude, that's a great point too. No, not good.
And offensive lineman, not getting good at getting those guys in the draft.
No, he's not. Do you think that year was a weird year? Do you think you can get a Riley Reif and Mike Remmers caliber player nearly every offseason?
Because teams like the Vikings think they can just get guys in the draft. And there's also a lot of guys that, they might not do so well for one team. Like I feel like Reif was a good offensive tackle in Detroit, but I think he was pretty underrated, and the Lions just didn't want to pay him for some reason. But I mean, they also I think they had some high draft picks, and they took offensive linemen with those picks. So
yes, they did.
They had a plan in place. But I like it when teams sign veteran offensive linemen. Like even Rashad Hill, I like him as a guy for depth.
Yeah.
Not so much as a starter.
Well, it's just a safer bet. There's less question marks of a guy who's been in the NFL for a while versus a guy who just came out of college. I think that's a fair statement.
Out of college, a lot of these guys like Brian O'Neill, you got to start from ground zero.
Yes.
Like pretty much. And then you lose your offensive line coach before the year even starts, and he has to start all over again.
Yeah. It's been a tough year for the offensive line. I think, it's still without a doubt is the biggest concern for this team going forward. I still think that's the reason they don't get to an NFC Championship game or beyond, is because of their offensive line. But, let's talk a little bit.
That's why they've lost this year.
100%. Yeah. Well, we talked about it. You can almost point specifically to plays that they ruined. Let's talk about the Lions. Game coming up against Lions. Is it in Detroit or is it?
No, it's in Minnesota.
Okay.
Where the Lions are undefeated.
Adam Thielen will be attempting to break the record.
Yeah, and if he does, he'll get 1,000 yards.
That's bonkers.
In 9 games.
Jeez Louise. Do you think he'll do it?
The Lions' pass defense is not too bad. Like they have Darius Slay and stuff, but the way Thielen's been playing this year, I don't think there's a reason to think he won't get it.
Yeah.
But their defense, the Lions' defense, has not been like lights out. So I wouldn't be like, oh, well, they could stop him. But
I'm not about to put big money on it, but I feel like he's gonna.
I mean, he already has the record. It's tied, so he has the record for games. Yeah. Straight games with 100 yards.
He's already in the book, okay?
Yeah.
It's just about whether or not there's another guy. Also kind of cool to do it against Detroit. Whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Is this I don't want to say a must-win, but like as far as this division is concerned, it's going to be tight.
I think it is.
It's still pretty tight. You think it is a must-win for them. Have to win it. Where are they at record-wise? So they would be 500
They're 4-3-1 right now.
4-3-1 right now. So they would be 4-4-1, and Detroit would be.
If they won, they would be 4-4.
And then Green Bay
with a win over the Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Green Bay's 3-3-1, and then the Bears are 4-3. So this is not a division where you can afford to lose a game at home to one of your divisional opponents. And then, it's gonna come down. This could be a game where it comes down to making the playoffs or not at the end of the year, based on it could be only one team coming out of the NFC North at the end of the year. So
that's very true. And at that point, I mean, yeah, you can't even a game, especially with a tie. And we haven't talked a lot about the tie, but the way this division is kind of setting up right now, it is not going to be a lot of space between the first and worst team.
No.
And a tie isn't going to help you, so you have to win these games at home. It's so hard for me to say that it's a must-win game, but it sure feels like it, doesn't it? It feels like they have to win it if they want to make the playoffs. It feels like if they don't win this game, it's going to be very, very difficult to make the playoffs.
And it's weird because the Vikings have already lost 2 games at home this year. They only played 4 games. They lost one. They lost once all last year at home. So I don't know what's going on at home with whatever's going on with the offense and the kickers. I don't know what's going on in US Bank Stadium with.
I'll tell you what's going on with the kickers is they put on purple and they forget how to kick. That's what happens.
The fabric just gets into their bloodstream and in their brain, and they're like, I play for the Vikings.
You know what it is? It's 10,000, there's probably more than that, Vikings fans all at the same time thinking he's going to miss it. And we, with our minds, push the ball.
Why don't kickers put the ball in the middle of the 2 hash marks when they kick extra points? I know Bailey put it on the left hash mark yesterday and he missed. And I was like, why don't you put it in the middle and just kick it straight?
I have no idea. Punters I got a little bit of respect for. Kickers I don't understand at all. I don't even get their game, man. No, it is a bummer, though. And one nice thing for Bailey missing was that it was, I don't want to say a disaster, but the game was so out of reach so early.
That was early. That was it should have been, 14-10? 14-7?
Yeah, something like that. Well, it was important when he missed it, but by the end of the game, it was like, why did he miss it? Well, of course he did. They had that. They had Everson Griffin going offside. So I'm like, oh, good. They got that stuff out of the way early, so they won't have to worry about that. There's so many weird, dumb plays like that.
A death and taxes thing where, Kirk Cousins fumbles, Dan Bailey misses, or the kicker misses extra point. Everson Griffin jumps offside.
Totally. Oh, man. It was frustrating to watch, but I don't know. I'm just not even, from a season standpoint, even worried at all. I feel like they're going to be fine. I feel like they're going to beat the teams they're supposed to beat for the most part.
They lost a team with 1 win.
One
2
loss.
of the teams they've lost to this year have combined 1 loss.
Mm-hmm.
And the Bills, we just don't talk about.
We don't talk about that. That one's not even on the list because you can't. That wasn't the same thing. There was a lot going on at New Winter Park at the TCO Performance.
There was a lot going on
studio.
that we didn't know about.
That's what I'm saying. So
but we don't know how much of that played a factor.
I'm sure. How could it not have?
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. Prediction for the Lions game. It's early and we don't know much about who's going to be playing, but care to take a stab?
What do we have? Did we predict both? Did both of us predict last week? See if you can find it.
Yeah, man. I don't like that you're doing this pay attention to the predictions thing because I don't think I'm going to do very well. Oh, no, I did win this one, right?
You picked it. Oh, you predicted. You said they were going to lose, and then I persuaded you to.
Oh, that's right. I bailed. Man.
Yep. Because I was like, Saints are beatable, and they are, but the Vikings beat themselves. So.
That's the Jets. Oh, yeah, here we go. 24-21 and 28-21. Oh, yeah. First, it was 28-27 Vikings, and then 20. 28-21 Vikings. Excuse me. Loss. I exited out. So, yeah. I mean, we were both wrong. We were both wrong. So,
I think though
we'll wipe it away and we'll start the record over, and then we'll keep track after this week.
I think they'll win. I think Xavier Rhodes would probably play. I don't know about Anthony Barr. I wouldn't really worry about him anyways.
Get him.
I think it'll be close, so probably like 24-20.
24-20. But the Vikings.
Yeah, first Vikings win against the Lions at US Bank Stadium.
I was trying to say that to a guy at work today about, they've never been beaten there. Like, Lions haven't lost the whole time, and he got like mad at me for having that as an argument. Well, it's true though.
Well, first year was overtime, and then last year was the Dalvin Cook game.
Mm-hmm. So what do you do? I mean, it's undefeated.
What's going to happen this year?
I think the Vikings are going to win. I think they're going to score 28 points, and I think the defense, who, by the way, is playing pretty darn well the last several games, and, we're kind of paying attention, but we're not giving them the, defense is dominant. I think this is the game where they play really well and kind of shut Matthew Stafford out, basically.
He hasn't been known to not turn the ball over, so.
No, he will definitely take some chances. 28-10. Is my prediction. And I feel like this is one of those games. I talked a little bit about the separation from the upper echelon NFC teams and the rest of everybody. Vikings are kind of in the rest of everybody right now. I feel like they're better than the Bears. I feel like they're better than the Lions. I feel like that separation is going to happen for them now, and people will start taking them.
Better than the Packers?
I think so. But are they better than Aaron Rodgers? I don't know.
No, but I mean, they haven't lost to Aaron Rodgers in a while.
No, and I think they've done a good job against him. But, if you are, say you're playing the Packers this week and you're wheeling out the secondary or the injuries, the defense that you had because of the injuries, hard for me to imagine Aaron Rodgers doesn't.
Which is part of the reason why I think, some of these guys are probably not going to play again next week just because after the bye, which is kind of why I think this is a must-win game too, just because after the bye, the schedule is pretty brutal. They got to play, I think, on the road at the Bears, against the Packers. That's at home. Mm-hmm. And then I think on the road against the Patriots.
Yes.
On the road against
Seattle.
The Seahawks.
Yep. It ain't going to get easy.
No. So, it's a game they need to win on Sunday. They have to win it. Not that the season is over if they don't.
But going to be real hard for them to get into the playoffs.
I mean, if they do lose, then I think the Vikings should probably just try and sign or trade for Jameis Winston or something like that because he's probably
because Cousins is a bust and move on.
Try and sign Brock Osweiler.
That's a great idea, actually. I saw. Do you think he's too tall? How tall is too tall to play quarterback?
Too tall? Who's that?
Brock Osweiler is 6', whatever, 6'6",
6'7".
Yeah, whatever. But that was an actual
question. Dan Marino was 6'6", wasn't he? Wasn't Peyton Manning that tall too?
Can you be too tall to play a quarterback if you can throw the ball? No, I don't think so either.
Tom Brady's 6'4".
Drew Brees is 6 feet. Doesn't matter.
Josh Allen is 6'7". He's the second coming of Joe Montana. So.
He is, yeah. Do you see him leap over Anthony Barr?
No, I missed that.
Guy's incredible. All right, bud. I will. I'll talk to you 1 week from today. Or no, we'll talk on Sunday. We'll do the post game.
Yeah, live.
We'll do it live. Oh, by the way, we were live this whole time. So good work. You sounded the same to me, so that's good.
That's good. I was a little more amped up for this one, though. But
yeah, no, I was fired up too, man.
I appreciate us doing this at this time, so I wouldn't have to watch the Bills and Patriots play on Monday night tonight. So.
I'm gonna watch it. It's gonna be brutal.
Let's do a live score update. We'll do it right now. I think it started 20 minutes ago. We'll see if the Patriots are up by 21 points or not?
It's going to be 14-0 Patriots, and Cordero Patterson has 2 touchdowns.
Oh, it's only 3-0.
Oh, okay, good. I didn't want to talk about Cordero Patterson. All right, buddy. We'll see you on Sunday.
Skull.
Vikes.